Hey guys, welcome to today's episode. We have Dr. Joseph Mercola answering your questions on how time-restricted eating and intermittent fasting can heal your body. So question number 1.
Talk a little bit about how long have you been personally doing it and what type of eating window do you prefer?
Let me preface things. First of all, I think time-restricted eating is the most technically correct term because intermittent fasting could refer to multiple day fasting. So I have been doing it maybe 3 or 4 years, some version of it, some variant, because I've been studying natural medicine for decades and have really had the opportunity to learn a lot about this field. Probably with respect to nutrition, one of the most basics is to just drink pure water. Avoid drinking soda, diet soda, and fruit juice is like number one thing you can recommend to those who aren't as wise as you who are watching. That's because you've known that for years or decades, but maybe your friends or family don't. Probably close behind that prime recommendation for the power of nutritional interventions would be time-restricted eating. One of the simplest, most effective strategies you can use to regain your health for so many large reasons. Even if you chose to eat garbage foods, which we obviously don't recommend, but if you did, you'd still get healthier. And largely, probably one of the biggest benefits is activating a process called autophagy. So essentially what it does is it takes your cellular parts, not the cells, that's a different process called apoptosis, but your cellular parts and recycles them. In the case of proteins, it could recycle the amino acids. In the case of damaged membranes, it can burn the fatty acids for energy. And essentially gets rid of the trash. Similarly, it happens internally to you if you're not activating this valuable process. And so if you are eating more than 12 hours a day, there is no way you are activating autophagy. It isn't just not going to work. 90% are eating more than 12, and probably more than half are eating about 16 hours a day. So they're eating from the time they get up to the time they go to bed. And the only time they're not eating is when they're sleeping, which is a prescription for metabolic disaster. It makes a lot of sense. Intuitively, you would think, yeah, but you need calories, so you should eat all day long. That's not biologically how it works. Most people can't do that. You're going to not have access to the alternative fuel source. And as a result, when your glycogen levels become depleted, you'll have many symptoms of fatigue, tiredness, lack of energy. It's just a laundry list of symptoms, which fortunately, if you're persistent and stick with it, tend to resolve relatively quickly within certainly less than a month in most people, unless you're seriously metabolically deranged. Then you become free. You have freedom back, and you don't have to be a slave to seeking food without to avoid becoming hypoglycemic type symptoms. The window. So obviously less than 12 hours it should be. And you're probably not going to get a lot of benefits until you get down to at least 8 hours. I think that should be your goal. But you do it slowly over time. Give your body time to adjust. Once you hit 8, you go to 6. And my personal favorite is 4. Now, if you are metabolically flexible and you are at an ideal body weight, then I don't believe it's necessary or maybe even important, not even important, but maybe even counterproductive to do longer types of fast. If you're metabolically inflexible and you've got a large number of pounds to use, then I would strongly encourage you because I think it's a powerful intervention. And I wrote a book called Keto Fast, which goes into an interesting way that can avoid some of the side effects of just doing a regular water fast. Because if you're metabolically unhealthy, you're going to liberate many fat-soluble toxins that are stored in your fat when you're burning it as fuel, and then that can cause some complications. So you have to be careful there. So time-restricted eating, unbelievable. I couldn't advocate it more strongly as one of the most incredibly important concepts or principles to integrate into your lifestyle to gain health. You're going to activate all these powerful pathways. As I said, one of the most important biomolecules in your body is something called NAD+, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. But they also play another important role in the DNA repair enzyme process, but also time-restricted eating, because the reason I went on the tangent with NAD, when you do time-restricted eating, and exercise is another simple thing that can do, because a lot of people try to increase their NAD levels by taking these expensive precursors like nicotinamide riboside or NMN, a nicotinamide mononucleotide, and they seem to work, but there's might cost you $100 a month to take those. Whereas if you were doing time restricted eating, you could increase this enzyme that actually causes your body to recycle it. It's called NAMPT. And, you get it for free. So you increase the levels by 30%. So it's a powerful intervention to improve longevity. And I view David Sinclair as probably one of the leading guys in the world for helping us understand how to maximize longevity. And I think ultimately he'll be responsible for providing us with some cellular reprogramming tools that go beyond what we can do with traditional biology. The reason I mentioned it is that he widely embraces intermittent fasting too, and he views it as one of the most powerful tools, and he clearly practices it himself. So it may be difficult to do, especially socially, because if you're going to eat for 4 hours, it doesn't leave you a lot of window. So you're going to have to skip some meals. Now, the time, I think it's important too, to maximize the time that you stop eating to increase the most time you can prior to sleep. If you say you went to bed at 9 and you ate from 3 to 7 or 4 to 8, it's not a good idea. The end result of that is you want to have at least 3, maybe even 4. I do 6 hours, 7 hours before I go to bed. I haven't eaten. Essentially, when you are sleeping, you are truly fasting because it takes that long to digest the food and get out of your system. Then when you're in that state, you can maximally benefit from the restorative and regenerative powers that sleep has, which is, massively important strategy to stay healthy too. And many people don't fully appreciate the value of sleeping, and they says, well, I could do more and sleep less and I'll be much better off. But yeah, you're going to cut off years off your lifespan if you do that. And your ability to be sharp and having your brain function the way it needs to, the way that it does when you're on time restricted eating.
Hey guys, if you want to try one of these necklaces, if you want to try any of these EMF tools,
go to essentialenergy.us and use coupon code Chantel Ray for a huge discount. That's essentialenergy.us.
So you guys know I've interviewed women all across the country that have been naturally thin their whole life with no dieting, no gimmicks. I interviewed over 1,000 women. I asked them, what'd you eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? And they told me everything. And so I actually have written 4 books now with all of these insights. I have put their secrets all right there. And so if you're tired of just the diet roller coaster and you just cannot lose that weight, I have a book called Waste Away. That's the very first one. That's how I break down how I discovered intermittent fasting, how it changed my body, and how thin eaters, they don't even call it intermittent fasting. They just do it. Fasting to Freedom is another book I wrote. It goes deeper. It's more into the spiritual and emotional side of fasting. It brings clarity and confidence, and it really kind of teaches you how to do a little bit longer fasting. Then I have One Meal and a Tasting. It's my most practical guide. It just walks you step by step through how you can live a sustainable fasting lifestyle and literally the exact things that these women did while enjoying the foods you love. And then finally, a Bible study that's called Freedom from Food. And this is like a 6-week study that you can do with a group of friends. It's really fun to do with a group. These books are the complete bundle. So if you go to chantelrayway.com, we're actually doing one free giveaway for the complete bundle. So if you go to our Facebook group, it's the Intermittent Fasting and OMAD group. Make sure you join. We're going to do a free contest for a free bundle for one lucky person. But if you want it right away, just grab the free bundle. It's the cheapest it's ever been because we want you to get your breakthrough, your body, your rules, your breakthrough. chantelrayway.com. So question number 2.
Can you talk a little bit about how fasting, let's say you're doing an extended fast and it affects your electrolytes, and what is the best source of electrolytes during a fast? Like, is it just salt? Is there?
Yeah, salt is probably all you need. I wrote a book, Superfuel, which is with James D. Nicolatonio, who wrote the book Salt Fix. He goes into that in great detail because there's a lot of fear around salt, but no, salt would be the best. And if you don't, you're going to get what many people call the keto flu, which is really probably a sodium deficiency. And now you ideally you do all the trace minerals, especially maybe not even trace minerals like magnesium. And there are some trace mineral supplements, but just simple, healthy salts like Celtic sea salt or Redmond or Himalayan, these, not just salt that you buy out of the store, the regular processed salt. So that would be, and you don't need a lot, but definitely I would do it. And when you could put it doesn't taste too good when you put it in water. So when I don't fast anymore, I've done probably 4, maybe 5-day fast. And I don't regret doing it just to go through the experience. It's really easy to do after the second day. But I am just focused on optimizing my lean muscle mass and fast. And I know you can do it. And if you're younger, it's not a problem, but when I'm doing this time restricted eating and I'm integrating the high intensity exercises, I think I'm getting all the autophagy I need. But if you were fasting, what you do is pour the salt on your hand and just lick it. And it tastes real good. And some people, for me, it reminds me of popcorn. It almost tastes so good, especially if you're not eating anything. It's like a real treat. So, because it's going to be hard to put it in water to drink. It just does not, salt water does not taste good for most people.
And question number 3.
We've seen a lot of people with even type 2 diabetes improve their diabetes with fasting. Can you explain the science behind that a little bit?
Well, it doesn't. If it's done correctly, I would say that it doesn't improve diabetes. It cures diabetes. It's type 2. But interestingly, the carnivore diet, if you're type 1, which is complete insulin deficiency, and an autoimmune disease, usually the beta cells in the pancreas, the islet cells. If you get it early and you stop all the plants, you could actually reverse type 1 diabetes. If you had type 1 diabetes for 10 years, you're 40 years old and you've had it since a child, that's not going to happen. They're gone. But if you catch it right at the beginning, you can. So how does type 2 diabetes reverse? By this process? It addresses the fundamental issue, what's wrong, which is insulin resistance and the ability to seamlessly switch between burning fat and sugar for fuel. So once you're able to do that, your body kicks in, and you're basically, the diabetes is gone. It just disappears. And Jason Fung has done a lot of good work with that. He's done a lot. He just basically restricts people's eating windows, and it does put people on fast. And he's up in Canada, which is socialized medicine. So, and he's a nephrologist, and has limited resources. He doesn't have a lot of time to spend with patients like most doctors. It doesn't have a big team. So he just tells them something simple to do. And the simplest thing he can do that they can follow. He doesn't have time to go over to like guide them and mentor them through the diet. He says, stop eating. And their diabetes disappears. So why isn't the nephrologist telling people, really focusing on type 2 diabetes? Because like 85% of the people he sees for kidney disease is from type 2 diabetes. It's the primary reason why people's kidneys go into failure, is type 2 diabetes. And you probably don't know this. Most people watching this don't know this, but 85% of the people in the United States, 85% either have diabetes or prediabetes. That's 85%. So it's a big deal. And it's an even bigger deal to know and realize and understand that time restricted eating can totally reverse that. It's in my view, nothing short of magical. I mean, I have a guy that works for me. He's been a veteran farmer, and when he first started, he was close to 300 pounds, 270, 280, type 2 diabetes, and a lot of health problems. But I put him on this program, and he's lost like 80 pounds. And he's got his life back. It was just simple stuff that he didn't know. And he got other complications too, because he had lung disease because he was exposed to chemicals, and they put him on steroids, which just messed him up. So, but we've been able to restore his health with some simple strategies. And one of the most important was time restricted eating, and really cutting back on those carbs.